Hi guys, and welcome to the Groundskeeper's Diary. In this video, I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks and everything you need to know to tap your own maple trees, harvest your own sap, and make delicious maple syrup. Coming right up. Now first things first, when should we tap our maple trees? You could go by the rules of thumb, end of February, beginning into March. That's when most plants and trees are starting to get ready for the spring growth and coming out of their hibernation. However, as the temperatures are getting warmer and warmer and the climate is changing, I would really pay close attention to the temperatures at night and during the day. You really want to start thinking about tapping your trees when the temperatures at night are still below zero and during the day they just peak over the freezing point. That's when the trees really start pumping up the sugar to the main branches and start getting ready for the spring growth. Now, one thing to pay attention to is the smallest branches at the tip of the tree. Those are the first branches that will start budding in spring, and if they have already budded, you know you're a little too late. You definitely do not want to tap the tree when the tree has already budded, because the minerals that are getting pumped up through the trunk of the tree, through the roots and up into the branches have changed a little bit, and your sap will become a little bit more bitter. The next question is what trees to tap. The process of identifying your trees typically starts to fall before you're ready to harvest the sap. You want to make sure that your trees are in good health and are the right size. I typically look at the diameter of the trunk of the tree. If it is 12 inches or smaller, that tree may be a little bit too young, so I would be careful with that. If it's bigger than 24 inches, it may be a little bit too old, and you want to make sure that it is in good health and actually has active growth before you consider tapping that tree. So the sweet spot is between 12 inches and 24 inches. If the tree like this one is between 12 and 18 inches, you could put 2 taps in that tree. If it is between 18 and 24, given that it is in good health, you can even put 3 taps, given that there are 6 inches, probably 8 inches apart from one another. Another question you want to ask yourself is this the right kind of maple tree for me to harvest sap from if I'm planning to make maple syrup? Now, a lot of different types of maple trees do produce sap, but not every single one has the right amount of sugar content in it if you're planning on boiling it down and making it into maple syrup. Silver maples, sugar maples are perfect for that. However, Norwegian maples do not have the right amount of sugar content, so you would end up boiling it down and you wouldn't produce much syrup in the end. And one way to identify if the tree has enough sugar content in its sap, if you don't know what cultivar of maple tree that is by looking at the leaves. Now, I don't know if this is a scientific method, but it's been working for me really well. If you look at the leaf and the radius in the corner where the two parts of the leaf meet is a rounded radius like this one, chances are this tree has a much higher sugar content. If that corner here is much sharper and a defined point, that tree probably doesn't have enough sugar content in its sap. The next part is drilling, tapping, and harvesting the sap in these blue buckets that you see behind me. As for drilling, I would really recommend getting a sharp, very clean drill bit. I use these diamond tip drill bits because they are sharper and it's easier to drill into a very thick trunk of these bigger maple trees. You definitely want to make sure that they are very clean and food safe. You want to avoid getting any sort of dirt, bacteria, or worse, rust into your healthy trees and jeopardize their health. When you've identified where you want to drill the holes to put the taps in, whether you're using a hand drill, a power drill, or cordless drill, you want to make sure that you are drilling on a little bit of an angle up. So when the tap is actually sitting in the tree, it is sitting on a bit of an angle, so the sap has a much easier time to flow out of the tree, through the tap, and into the bucket. As for the actual taps that I use, I get these metal ones. You can get them from any hardware store or you can buy them online. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. They come in plastic or metal. I like the metal ones because they're easier to clean. They're a little bit more structural, so when I'm using a hammer to put them in or a tool to take them out, there's less chance of them breaking, and I can use them year after year. Plus, they come with this little handy hook where I can hang the sap bucket off of when I'm collecting the sap. Now, one thing to note here, I don't have the right lids, but these taps also come with a little spot for attaching a little lid for these buckets. You do want to make sure that you cover them because there is debris, bugs, squirrels going around, and there's a chance of things falling into the buckets and contaminating the sap. So you want to make sure you do cover them. I'm just using some wax paper with tape because I didn't have the lids, but you can get the lids as well from a hardware store or online to make sure your sap is not contaminated. And last but not least is that once these buckets have filled up, you want to transfer the sap from these buckets into a very clean and food safe container for storage. One thing I learned the hard way, unfortunately, is that sap does not keep for long. If you refrigerate it, which you must, you can keep it for a few days, but naturally there is some bacteria in the sap that will start feeding on the sugar content. So if you notice the sap has lost its clarity and has gone a little cloudy, unfortunately that sap is not good anymore. Rule of thumb is that you harvest the sap on weekdays and you make maple syrup on the weekends. That's it for now. That's all the tips and tricks I have for you to harvest some maple sap and make some delicious maple syrup. Until next time, I'll see you outside.